Aloha, I'm Bordessa from liveukulele.com, and in this video I want to show you how to file your nails to get a cleaner, smoother sound on the ukulele and how to maintain them. To get started, you're going to do the rough cuts with a nail trimmer of some sort. I like the big ones. The small ones have a little bit too tight of a curve to really be useful for my nails, but if you have smaller hands, a smaller pair might be nice. And also some sort of a file. I like the glass nail files because they never seem to wear out and they give a really nice finish compared to other kinds of files. When people ask me how I take care of my nails and why their nails are splitting, a lot of times they'll come back and say that, oh, I use a sapphire file or a diamond file or a metal file. And right there is usually the problem. Those kind of rougher file types, I've found in the past when I was using them that they would really just chew on the edge of the nail and wouldn't leave a nice finish at the end, and you would end up with ratty edges that would eventually get bigger and bigger, and then the nail would tear off. So if you don't have access to a glass file, first of all, I recommend you get one just because they're so great. I couldn't imagine living without mine. But you can also use like a fine emery board or fine sandpaper, some sort of like, I guess, professional level nail sander that they might use in a salon or something along those lines. Metal files and diamond or sapphire files, big no-no. Don't try and file with the built-in file on the actual clippers. So these nails that I've been hanging on to here for a week or two, they're a little bit longer than I'm comfortable with. I find that they're starting to kind of catch on things and I'm afraid I'm going to tear them off. And if you're playing, you can hear when your nails haven't been filed in a while that they start to get a little bit gritty sounding when you pull them across the strings. And if I just rub my finger on the string, there's kind of like a harshness to it, to the sound. And I want to get rid of that so that when I'm playing, the sound is smoother and nicer. And also those edges are what you're going to catch on something throughout the day and what's going to rip the nail off. So if you keep those little dings out of your nails and you regularly maintain them, then you're going to be less likely to lose a nail from it getting torn off, and you're going to have a better sound. So side note before I forget is the length of the nail is super personal. The longer it is, the more likely you are to break it off, but the longer it is, the more you can actually utilize it in your playing and kind of get more of that bright nail sound. For me, I tend to play where I use the pad of my finger to start the pluck and then the nail to release the pluck. So I like to have my nails just poking out from the end of the pad of my finger, the very tip of my finger. I want the nail to, so that it, like, if I was to put it up against a wall, the nail would touch and the pad would touch almost at the same time. That's sort of my ballpark for nail length. The thumbnail, I usually go a little bit longer. So let me get a close-up and I'll show you exactly how I shape the nails and how I approach trimming them. So it's a little bit tough to get this close-up angle as a one-man video production crew, but I'll try my best to keep it in focus and to give you a good shot of what's going on here. For me personally, I play with my thumb, my index finger, and my ring finger. So those are the nails that I keep long. The other two on the end, I trim off short, so that's one less thing for me to rip off and hurt myself with. I use my ring sometimes, but I don't use it in a way that requires a nail, so I don't worry about that. Left hand, no nails. If you try and keep long nails on your left hand, it's completely up to you, but it stops it literally as you push on the fingerboard. If you have long nails, they'll actually hit the fingerboard before you have a chance to press the note down. So if you're like doing the beauty queen thing, you're just gonna have a hard time pressing chords in general because that nail is gonna stop you from actually fretting the notes. So that's a disclaimer about left-hand nails. Cut them off if you really want to play seriously. Beyond that, we need to talk about the shaping of the nails. You can just do a rounded tip, and that works for a lot of people. For me, over the years, what I found works best is on my fingers, I try and curve the nail so that it goes upwards from left to right. And by doing so, I'm actually mimicking the line that my finger takes across the string to get the most smooth release. So if you look as I pluck, this is kind of upside down and backwards, but hopefully you get the idea. I'm starting with this left edge of my nail. If you're looking at you hold your ukulele, so you hold it up kind of in front of you and pick, you're starting with the left side of the nail. So from my experience, if I cut that shortest and lead up to the right from there, as I pull across the string is gonna go up, 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 up. And then when I hit the other side and the edge of the nail where it tapers off quickly around the side, it's gonna be a cleaner release as opposed to going up, 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 and then down, down, down as the string releases. But if you have a light angle going from left to right and then a quick drop off, the release is faster, and I find that gives me a better tone. So it's not rocket science. I'm just gonna start low on the left side with my clippers and snip and hope that I get it right in one take-ish and get my approximate angle going on. So this is real rough and jagged on the tip over here. So I'll kind of nip that down so that it's smooth and also matches the height of the nail that I want. But like if you were to stop here, this nail would be gone probably by the end of the day just from catching it on something because it's so rough. You would just, go to wash dishes or something and the sponge would just zip it off. But as you can see, it starts low here, goes high, and then drops off quickly on the right side. That's still perhaps a little longer than I want, so I'm gonna try and get it a little bit lower, all the way around the edge. And it doesn't need to be dramatic. As you can see, the sloped angle, it's not a huge 45-degree angle or anything. It's just a smooth rising to that side and then it drops off faster on the other end. And I do that with the other finger. Same deal, starting low on the left and going upwards to the right. And just kind of find the length that I want and the shape that I want. And this takes practice. You're gonna have to do it wrong a few times before you find kind of what works for you. And this is just what I find works for my style. It might not do anything for you and it might end up making you sound worse. You have to experiment. Try doing an even curve on each side. Just really don't be too attached to one thing. But if you look, like I'm seeing that this nail looks like, give you a little backdrop so you can actually see the nails. But this side looks like it turned out a little nicer than this side. So when I go to file, I'm probably gonna have to tune this one up more than this one. But then the thumb is really easy to do because as you pluck the strings, right? As you hit the string, there's only this very edge of the thumb is actually doing anything. So for me, I actually slope the nail the other way on the thumb. So the fingers go this way, the thumb I actually go this way upwards. Just not for any particular reason because the string never hits this far side, but if I bring it lower there and slope it across, I feel like having less surface area tends to not catch on as much and is more livable throughout the rest of life outside of ukulele playing. So I'll cut it low on the right side and go taper it up to the left, and then my playing edge is just smoothing it over on the left side. Right? Where's my light? So this is just the rough stage. You don't really need to get too hung up on getting it perfect at this point because you're gonna come back with the file and finish everything up. So I'll start on the thumb because that's the easiest for me to file in this position while I'm leaning over trying to stay in front of the camera. But basically, all I do is I just take the file and go in with downward strokes across all the way around the front of the nail to kind of get rid of any jagged edges that the trimmers might have left and to get my final shape dialed in. And depending on your file, this might go really fast. This is why, especially with the glass file, I like to go downwards instead of going down and up, because if you go down and up, the glass files, they're really precise, but they also go really quick if you're not paying attention, and you might end up with no nail left. Plus, if you go upwards, you get kind of a funny sound that gets on my nerves, like nails on a chalkboard. So I just go downwards, all the way around, and then once I have the basic shape dialed in, then I take the nail file and I turn it so that it goes under the nail, and I can go side to side here to kind of turn the tip edge of the nail back so that as you're filing, you know, if this is the nail, that you're going from the bottom and you're also going from the top so that you get kind of a point at the end of the nail. So if I go down, I'm going at an outwards angle. And when I do that tuck under thing, I'm getting the upwards angle. And you don't want this to be super pointy, but just by approaching it from both directions, I find you get a more even finish. And then at the very end, you can kind of go like straight down across and get it nicely dialed in. The biggest problem that you run across with poorly filed nails is abrupt edges. If you have like a sharp point, the string is going to get stuck on that, and when it comes loose, it's either going to come loose and hit more of the nail, which is going to be kind of a scratching sound, or it's actually going to release from there, and you're going to release from a jagged edge, and releasing from a jagged edge creates just kind of weird harmonic overtones, and you get a thin sound. So if you can, you want to try and get everything just as smooth as possible all the way across. You know, no bumps or edges. And a lot of times the biggest place this happens is at the very corner, the corner edge of the nail on one side or the other. So if you're looking at the nail and where you're at, you want to make sure that in that corner there where the nail grows out from the nail grows out from the finger straight, right? From inside your finger to out. So if you let that straight edge come up and up and up and up, it's going to be straight up, and then you go into the curve of the nail, and that corner there at the edge of the nail is going to give you problems. So you want to try and curve that edge coming out of the finger. You want to incorporate that into your curve up over the top of the nail. And I've got it pretty much dialed back for the thumb. There's no harsh edge there any longer. But if you can see on this index finger here, there's still an edge where the nail comes straight out and then my curve starts. And when I'm filing, I want to make sure that I eliminate that as much as possible, because that's what's going to create poor tone. There's an even more obvious one here on this side, if my autofocus will go, where you can see the nail comes out straight and then jumps into the curve, and I want to make sure that's gone. So I'm not really going to be playing with this in here, but again, those edges are what's going to catch and rip the nail off and give you trouble in your day-to-day nail maintenance regimen. Because a lot of time that's what people struggle with, is just having their nails rip off during the day, and then they're down to no nail, and they feel like they've wasted their life away trying to grow a nail for playing ukulele. And usually the reason is there's just some sort of a sharp edge. Okay, so again, just like before, going downwards first, and then coming back and going side to side underneath, and then I'll go hit it again downwards. Make sure that's pretty good. If you have a fancy emery board, you might have different grits of filing paper, and that's really nice for getting a finish. You know, you start with a more aggressive grit, and it'll take down more of the nail, and then you can go lighter and lighter and lighter until it's really just a polish. With the glass files, I find that the grit is fine enough to do this, but that also when I get to the very end, I want just a little bit of the last bit of polish. If you take the nail and just rub it on your jeans or on your shorts or something, some sort of kind of rough abrasive fabric, that is kind of a nice way to finish off the polish of the nail. And the last step, if you want to be nice and manicured, is you can clean out the extra dust and garbage from under your fingernails. I know this is kind of gross, but if you go out in the real world, people expect this, I guess. And so it's nice to not carry a week's worth of grime under your nails, and certainly not the Coke dust looking nail leftover. So there you have it. I don't let the nails get incredibly long before I'm worried about cutting them down. Usually my little rule of thumb is that I want to be able, if I look straight on at my hand, I want my fingernails to be poking out just slightly from the tips of the fingers. And I can see that I've got that going on right now, because when you're finger picking, a lot of times you're actually starting your pluck with the pad of your finger. So the nail is just the very last release, and you want it to be as clean as possible. But that's also why I don't have my nails super long, is because I want the pad to be involved in my tone. If it's just nails, you get a little bit more of a clacky kind of bright sound, which for me personally, I don't super like. So I'm okay with using the pad of my finger to start the pluck and then my nail to finish it off. If I go back to the ukulele, now that I've done my nails, you know, they're always gonna be a little bit rough, and you're always gonna have that grittiness, but now instead of like, I don't know, 120 grit sandpaper, it sounds like 400 grit sandpaper if I'm scratching my nails. And when I pluck, I'm getting a much smoother tone, because now I'm not, you know, you're not scratching across the string with a nail that's all beat up. People often ask what they can do to strengthen their nails, and besides like a good filing maintenance program, I don't really have a lot of good tips. I kind of intuitively believe that it has a lot to do with diet and lifestyle. So if you're, you know, eating well and drinking lots of water and doing your exercises, kinds of a thing, I'm sure that helps. I don't have anything scientific to back that up, but it can't hurt. And also, I think it is kind of a genetic thing, and some people just fight it and fight it and fight it. And, you know, I feel really bad for them, because I've never really had to struggle to have nails, and I feel super lucky that, you know, that I guess that's in my genes. You can always get acrylic nails. I know it's kind of weird and like, ew, that's weird, but you know, if you go look at Uncle Dennis Kamakahi, he had crazy long acrylic nails that he plucked with, and they were just built-in picks that he took along with him everywhere he went. And, you know, it was completely fine. So that's also an option too. If you just struggle with broken nails and weak nails, and if your nails are thin too, you're not gonna get as strong of a tone, because the nail's actually gonna be bending as you hit the string. It would be like using a really thin guitar pick to strum. You kind of get that sort of bending sound as you cross the strings. And if your fingernail is doing that, you're gonna struggle to get a really meaty, strong tone as well. Which is why, for a lot of people, the thumb sounds better for picking, is because the thumbnail is just inherently thicker and stronger, because you can really dig into the string. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Brad Bordessa. Please check out liveukulele.com for more lessons and resources, and also some ebooks on picking technique, fretting technique, and also how to use ukulele chord shapes across the neck. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of one another out there. Be safe, and aloha.